Hey, what's up, guys? It's almost time for Halloween, so I've brought on Arch Warhammer. He has his own channel, so he's here with me, and we're going to be talking about Geheimnisnacht. So I'm going to let him kind of take it away. Actually, why don't you go ahead and plug your channel? I know it's grown relatively significantly. You've been doing more coverage. You got some good stuff, and I think you're doing 40K stuff right now, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a mix of Warhammer and 40k and some other random nonsense that I've been doing. It's a new channel. I'm a small channel still. I owe most of my success to you, dear Oakley. So
Yeah, and
I do enjoy doing these little collabs.
exactly. So for those of you who are introduced to Arch, he's been in all our previous videos. Lucas is not here joining us. He's Grey Hunter, so he has the Gaming Shenanigans channel, so he's not joining us for this one, but make sure to check both of those guys out. As you'll see in this video, they have a knack for Warhammer lore, so if you like that kind of stuff and it pricks your fancy, check them out. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about this particular night, the Night of Mysteries, and it ties in with Halloween, and I'm going to go ahead and let Arch talk about how it does that. What is this night?
Okay, so this is essentially Warhammer's version of Halloween, except there's technically two of them. There is Geheimnisnacht and Hexennacht. Except for one also small difference, the fact that while in our world the scariest things that prowl the street are ugly women in scanty clothing, in Warhammer there are considerably more dangerous things. This is the night of the year where chaos energies is an all-time high. This means demons, undeads, vampires, and all manners of monsters are capable of walking the earth. This is due to the moon of the Warhammer world. For those of you who do not know, the moon is named Morslib and is one of the moons, the so-called Chaos Moon, as it is made up pretty much entirely out of warpstone, which is the solidified stuff of chaos. It circles the Warhammer world in an elliptic orbit, which means that when it gets really, really close on Geheimnisnacht and Hexennacht, essentially the entire world is suffused with chaos energy, equal to that of a full-on storm of chaos, which has all manners of horrible, horrible, horrible things happening.
Yeah, and you had mentioned before that this is kind of like not super fleshed out in the lore. It's kind of something they just threw together. So that's kind of the vague overall idea of it. Where are you drawing this information from? Is it from the lore books or from various fluff fictions that they have?
The Geheimnisnacht originally originated from Warhammer Empire, sorry, Army's Vampire counts in the 7th edition and has been used in the 8th edition Vampire count as well, and has been mentioned a few times in the Gotrek and Felix books. In fact, I believe the first Gotrek and Felix story was named Geheimnisnacht, where they went off to save someone during this witching hour and got into a fair bit of trouble doing so.
And that's the thing I like about Warhammer, the way it was kind of fleshed out, where they take things based in reality and then they just throw in the lore and make it even that much more crazy. Like we were talking about before we started recording, how they bring in the idea about kind of the Orient and the Indian factions or the Japanese factions, and they just make it so much more ridiculous. So they're doing the same thing here with just a holiday and saying, hey, what if the creatures of the night that we dress up as are actual real things? And so I like how that's kind of the way Warhammer lore plays out. It's all these ridiculous extremes. And I'm reading here on the Lexiconum, the winds of magic are stronger, so not only just chaos, but the winds of magic in general. So, you know, the necromancers and the vampires, for instance, anyone who deals in sorcery is going to be much more powerful. So perhaps that's the time not only for chaos to send out, all these demons and stuff, but also for perhaps the vampire counts and other people to do a territory grab during these nights. And you can imagine, the Empire every year has to prepare for this, not by stocking their homes with candies for trick-or-treaters, but by stocking their homes presumably with weapons, shotguns, boarding up the doors and all that stuff. So it's a cool take on that.
Yeah, it is most definitively a very real threat for the Imperium, both because, of course, the Empire itself is filled with Chaos worshippers, beastmen out in the woods, secret cults hiding in cities, necromancers, vampires, all manners of stuff, and the common people, they do know about this. The witch hunters, of course, do their level best to suppress it, but rumors gets around, which makes the night even more horrifying because you never know that kindly old man that lives next door. Well, he might be a lich.
So this is the night where all these people who've been lurking in the shadows come out, and it's their time to play. And I'm reading here on the Lexiconum that in the Empire they call the night Geheimnisnacht, and in Bretonia they call it Winter's Eve. The dwarves call it Ar Uskul, and the elves call it the Twilight's Tide. So that's super interesting how all these factions and different races deal with it differently. And it says here the Dark Elves perhaps call it the night Death Knight, although the link is perhaps not clear. It's being super vague here. Can you touch more about the Dark Elves' Death Knight?
Ah, yes, Death Knight. We are not entirely sure if this is Geheimnisnacht or a Hexenacht, but it seems to make sense because it is a ritual carried out to appease the Dark Elf god of murder, Cain. As such, you'd think it had some relatively obvious connections there. And it's also, of course, just a very magical time. So if you want to be pleasing one of the gods, this is definitively the best time to do it. But as to what the Death Knight is, it is, I guess we would call it a ritual. Every Death Knight, excuse me, the Witch Elves, which are essentially priests of a sort of Cain, get to scour the streets of Dark Elves' cities, killing anyone caught outside, and often even breaking into houses, abducting the unfortunate victims, and taking them back to the temple of Cain, where they are sacrificed. Their blood used to fill a ginormous cauldron, which the witch elves then bathe in, because of course they do. And it is even tradition that any family that survives the night relatively unscathed will thank Cain for his gracious gifts of life by sacrificing either a slave or an older family member, whichever is
Oh my
easier.
god. So that's terrifying. So this is definitely a crazy night, and I'm trying to see how this would play out in the game if it's something they could throw in.
They definitely could. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be an event in the game, because as we have already established, the whole time doesn't flow thing, well, no, but it's probably a thing forced upon them by Games Workshop. They said simply, like, you can't advance the storyline because, we killed Warhammer, so we can't have you doing your own story stuff. But that's no reason for why they couldn't throw in some minor events along these lines every few turns.
Yeah, to spice it up for special events, justifications for why you may have increased rating within your provinces or more chaos attacks during certain parts of the year. That'd be kind of cool.
I do like the possibility of this in a combination with Total War because it would be an event, like you mentioned yourself. It could be one of the many things they could throw in at certain intervals to spice things up a little bit. For example, during. Let's stretch it a little bit. Let's say the whole time stops thing. So somehow you've arrived at Geheimnisnacht, and now time is stopped for a couple turns, which we don't know exactly how long a turn would last, technically, since there's no time. So one or two turns where all magic is more powerful, for example. There's a lot of events they could do this with to just add a little bit of flavor to the different seasons, quote unquote, of the game.
Yeah, and they've already said that the winds of magic are stronger or weaker in different parts of the map, and they could easily, once this comes into effect, just throw in a modifier where everything gets ridiculously larger. So that would be interesting. Perhaps you have to plan your invasions as the vampire counts for these particular times. You wait, 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 and then you unleash your hordes on this particular night using all your sorcery to revive all your undead, and then you can maybe hold bigger and larger armies because of the body counts, and you have all this magic. So perhaps, like you said, implementing this would be awesome. And it could be something that you have to work around either for your attack strategies or prepare well in advance for a defensive strategy if you're the Empire. So yeah, I think that would be definitely something that would be awesome if they considered it.
Yeah, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of spice, and it's not like this is a purely evil thing. You could certainly add in events for the good factions as well. For example, a particular holiday for the dwarves where they worship a particular ancestor. For example, Grimnir, which gives them a melee combat bonus, for example, stuff like that. Just something little bit extra, you know?
Yeah, and that's true. If they're going to remove the seasons to give you a sense of the dates rolling by, then perhaps have festivals that roll around every 10 turns or something like that, just to keep the sense of progression going. I think would be an awesome way to do that, and it also throws in some gameplay tweaks. So yeah, that's hopefully something they hear in this video, and hopefully they're even considering it behind the scenes. Who knows? But yeah, I think that's it from our part. Unless you have any other closing words.
I think that's just about fine, yeah.
Cool. All right, guys, make sure to check out Arch Warhammer's channel. He has a lot more stuff, not only fantasy, but also 40K that he started up. And then also, Lucas was not able to join us, but make sure to check out his channel. He is Gaming Shenanigans. I'll link that below as well. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.